time for my December and 2014 wrap up. So let's take a look at all of the books that I read this month. The String Quartet by Dan Hupalo. This is a middle grade fantasy adventure all tied up with music and a magic cello that transports 4 kids to another world. And this had some really fun twists, and it was a really interesting world that I wish I could have gotten to know a little more, although I have found out that there is a sequel to this that will be coming out at some point. So that should be fun and interesting to read. And I gave this book 3 stars, and it was a pretty fun read. Midnight in Austenland by Shannon Hale. Okay, so I read Austenland 2 years ago, and I just reread it this last year, and I really love this story. It's a novel about a lady who is completely obsessed with Jane Austen and goes to this theme park, basically, and you get to play out your own, basically, Austen novel. And so this is the concept of Austenland, and just, it's so much fun, and it's a really funny book, and it's got a great ending, and if you've seen the movie Austenland, it's a good movie, but the book is even better, so definitely check out the book. But Midnight in Austenland is the sequel, and it deals with a new main character, which I really loved because it's the same setting, Austenland, but it's a new character, and it's a whole new story, and I love this because the character is a divorcee, and she has recently been divorced, and so she's dealing with her life after divorce and kind of what happens after this, and so she decides to go to Austenland and kind of trick her heart into feeling again, because she's having a hard time feeling love and accepting people after the pain of her divorce. And I really, really loved this character. I like the first Austenland book, but I might like this one better. It takes a lot of its cues from Northanger Abbey. While Austenland was very much kind of Pride and Prejudice, Midnight in Austenland is more Northanger Abbey. So it's like gothic, and there is kind of a murder mystery going on during her stay in Austenland, and I absolutely loved it. Anyway, this one gets 4 stars, and it was a really, really fun listen. Becoming Beauty by Sarah E. Boucher. This was just a book that I saw sitting on the shelf of my library, and I thought, hey, that looks kind of interesting, I will check it out. I'm really glad that I did. It's a really short book. It's a really fun kind of light read. It's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, where Beauty is kind of something of a beast. She's pretty manipulative. She's a gold digger. Basically, she doesn't care about love. She wants to marry rich. And it was a very interesting story to me. I loved watching her develop because she gets thrust into the servitude of the Beast. So she's basically a housekeeper, and all of her dreams of marrying rich and living the high life basically vanish. And so she kind of has to deal with that. And in dealing with that, she develops this brazen boldness that I really loved in her, and I thought she was a great character. You know when you're reading a love story and you see that there are issues going on in the relationship, but a lot of times I've noticed, especially for me in the young adult genre, these issues aren't always identified. This book, I noticed early on that there was going to be issues with the relationship that develops, and I was kind of afraid that it would just keep going, straight ahead, steam forward. But no, the author actually deals with the issues, and the climax of the story, okay, so it deals with the relationship issues that I noticed early on, but the relationship issues were directly related to character flaws and personalities, and I think the author did a really good job of wrapping it up, of bringing everything to a satisfying conclusion, even if it did feel a little rushed. I did really like the way that she ended the book and how she handled the relationship issues, and that's not always something that I can say about love stories. Becoming Beauty by Sarah E. Boucher had a really great story and good development. It gets 4 stars. Dearest by Alethea Contis. You can check out the review video I did of this. I gave this book 4 stars. It's the 3rd book in the Woodcutter Sister series by Alethea Contis. Great series, great book. If you haven't read it yet, you need to. Plus, I have a giveaway going on right now for the 1st book in this series, Enchanted. This is a really cool copy because it is signed beautifully by the author. So I will have the link to the Dearest review down below, which is where you can enter into that giveaway. And now, the pièce de résistance. As You Wish, The Inconceivable Tales from the Making of Princess Bride by Carrie Elwes. I never know how to pronounce his name. Am I the only person with that problem? I adore this book. It was so much fun. I mean, I'm obsessed, well, okay, not completely obsessed, but just a little bit obsessed with The Princess Bride, the movie and the book. They're both wonderful, and I absolutely adore them. I grew up with the movies, so it's been in my life for years and years and years. This book just made it all better. It is Cary Elwes talking about different things that happened while filming, different life lessons that he learned while he was filming it, and just fun little quirky stories and things that happened, and you get to learn about some of the other actors also who were on the set. What I really loved about the way that this book was done is it's not just Cary Elwes' story, because you can see the shaded sections right here. These are basically comments and mini-stories from the other actors and people who were working on the movie. So we've got snippets from William Goldman, Rob Reiner, Robin Wright, Billy Crystal, Andy Patinkin, basically everybody who was majorly involved with the making of this movie who was still around. They got to add in their own 2 cents to the story, so we get to hear Cary's side, and then we get to hear kind of what some other people were thinking, or other little stories that people had about the filming, and it's just, it's like a collective project, and just the fact that I love the movie so much and that the actors develop such a kinship during the filming of this movie that it just makes this book so much more perfect. This is an excellent book, 5 stars. If you like The Princess Bride, you really have to read this. There is no other option. You cannot not read this. 5 stars, brilliant book. I can't wait to read it again. Costume change. So now that we've talked about my December wrap-up, I want to talk about my 2014 wrap-up. Some of you may know that I set myself some reading goals last year. I took the Goodreads reading challenge and I set my own goal of how many books I wanted to read. And I set my goal at 100 books. And I did not think there was any chance that I was going to read 100 books last year. I read 108. Even I am surprised. I had no idea that I could read over 100 books in a year anymore. I used to do it when I was younger, but you know, now I have a job and other things. So I really didn't think that I was going to read that many books, so I am very, very proud of myself. Now, in addition to reading 100 books, I also set myself smaller goals to try and help me broaden my reading genres, because I have my niche. I like to read fantasy, mostly middle grade and young adult, and I don't ever really step out of that. So last year I really wanted to step out of my reading niche, so I had set myself goals. You can see right here, reading goals for 2014. I wanted to read 25 adult fiction books. I read 20, and I know that I didn't exactly reach my goal. I fell short by 5 books, but I am actually seriously impressed with myself for reading 20 adult fiction books, and so I am totally happy with that. I mean, I didn't hit my goal, but that is just fine with me. The same thing with the nonfiction. I really do not like to read nonfiction because I can't find anything that really interests myself. So last year I set myself the goal of reading 10 nonfiction books, and I read 6. So again, I am seriously impressed with myself for that. Biographies, I did a lot better. I had set the goal of 10 and I read 9, so I was only 1 short. I also set the goal to finish at least 5 book series, and I hit that one. I hit that one and it was really, really fun. So I read the entire series of Full Metal Alchemist, which, okay, it's a manga, but it still counts. You still read it. I also read the Hunchback Assignments by Arthur Slade, and if you don't know what those are, hey, I have reviews for every single one of those books. You should really check them out. I also read the Austenland series, which is really only 2 novels by Shannon Hale, Austenland and Midnight in Austenland. I also finished comic series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I read The Search, which I know that that's small, but it counts. I also listened to the Bartimaeus trilogy by Jonathan Stroud, which everyone will be satisfied with that because they are actual novels. Now, in addition to finishing 5 series, I also caught up on several series, which was also technically my goal, but these were the 5 that I actually finished, so these were the ones that I used. The last goal that I had set myself was to reread any book that I felt like when I felt like it. A lot of times I feel very pressured to read only new books because there are so many books and there's just so little time in life to read it. I mean, if everybody really looks at their TBR lists, their TBR shelves, their TBR piles, you kind of know in the back of your head that you are never going to be able to read all of the books that you want to read in one lifetime. So, I mean, sometimes it's really hard to let yourself just sit down and reread a book when there are so many new books out there that you want to read. 2 years ago, in 2013, there were a lot of books that I wanted to reread, but I didn't feel like I had the time. So that was the last goal that I set myself in 2014, was I wanted to reread any books that I felt like, and I actually reread 3 books. So it was really fun. It was really fun for me, and I'll probably set that goal again this year, is just not to be afraid to reread books, even though I feel like I don't have the time. So on the whole, I only met 2 of my goals, but I'm still really proud of myself for how close I was to reaching the rest of those goals. Now, for 2015, I totally plan on setting myself more goals, both for my booktube channel here and also for reading goals. So that will be up this Thursday, unless some kind of natural or unnatural disaster prevents me from doing so. And I hope you guys will look forward to watching it, because one of my goals is to hang out a little more on booktube. Hopefully be more interactive with other people here in the community, because I don't know, I feel like I don't really interact very much with anyone, so we're gonna change that. Amanda out. I don't know why I did that. I just watched a lot of videos last night, and a lot of booktubers just kind of signed out like that. Until I find my own flourish with which to sign out. Amanda out. I guess we're gonna go